Hi, welcome to How to Love Yourself. This is the beginning of a four-part journey we'll be going on together from the new moon in Sagittarius to the full moon on December 8th. My name is Yeeve. Welcome. So I believe we are here to co-create a new Garden of Eden together, a world in which everyone feels and knows they belong, and where we are each expressing our true nature and sharing our unique gifts. And the way to grow this Garden of Eden, to experience heaven on earth, it begins with creating that environment within, right? Because everything that we see out there, whether it's war and violence, sexism, racism, all of these aspects of the world that most of us want to change, they're all created from our collective consciousness, which is made up of our individual consciousness, right? So instead of trying to tackle all of these problems in the outer world, which usually just get recreated, right? If we are judging things in the outer world as wrong or bad, then we can try to fix them. But when we begin from that consciousness of this is wrong, then we're actually just perpetuating that sense of duality and splitness. And that comes from this way that we dissect ourselves, right? When we judge parts of ourselves as acceptable and unacceptable, then we are inflicting violence against our own nature. And then this is when all of us are doing this, it's reflected in the outside world, right? So, but this self-judgment and this way that we kind of cut ourselves up into parts has been so ingrained in us that it really takes intention and practice to start unraveling that. So I thought we would practice together in this very potent time. We're in eclipse season. We're entering the winter where it's natural to go inward. So if we're using the metaphor of a garden, the place we want to begin is clearing the roots. So this means finding the source of some of these negative beliefs or these patterns of judgment that we live with. And so most of us know that, we can look back at our childhood and see the ways that, maybe things that we heard in our household, what we saw in our parents, what we learned in school, has affected the way we see ourselves and the world. But it actually goes much further than that. We also need to look at our time in utero, when we were in our mother's belly, and how we were affected by what she was going through. And then further back into our ancestry, right? What are the things that we inherited from our ancestors, both physically and mentally, the way we think of the world, our behavioral patterns. And of course, the culture that we're living in, the cultures that our ancestors lived through. And then even further back, other lives that we've lived. So one of the places we need to begin when we look at loving ourselves is, who is the I that I am identifying with? So we think of ourselves as this I in this body, in this lifetime. It's easy to feel like a victim, like to go into fears of survival and feeling like we have like limited time, limited energy, and have our focus be about how to, make the most of what we have. And then when things that seem negative happen to us, or when we don't achieve in the way that we hoped, or we don't get what we desire, then it can just feel like a blow. And if we feel stuck, like if we're experiencing, chronic illness or circumstances that we want desperately to be different, but feel like we can't change, like our money situation or, a difficult relationship or addictions, we can feel really hopeless and powerless. So shifting our perspective from this more limited view of ourself into a more expanded view of the vastness of who we really are as infinite beings, as infinite creators, not only shifts the way we see ourselves, but it actually shifts the way we can experience life and makes available more choices, helps us see more clearly and choose differently. The way to shift this perspective is, first of all, to remember that time, linear time, is an illusion, right? It's a human-made construct. So if we're looking at a painting and we're inside the painting, then let's say we identify at this point, then we can see, this as the future going this way, and this as the past. But if we take a different perspective, like if we take ourselves outside of the painting and look this way, then we can see all of the points and realize they're actually all happening at once. We can see past, present, and future. And if I put a stroke here, right? If I change this moment that I'm experiencing as present, or if I change this image of the past, when I look at it from this perspective, it actually changes the whole picture, right? And another way to look at this is the idea of Indra's net. So it's a Hindu concept, and this idea that if reality is a net made up of diamonds, so each diamond represents a person, a place, a thing, a relationship. And since they're diamonds, right, they're mirrored, so everything is reflecting each other. And so if you change one tiny aspect on even one of those diamonds, it changes, because all of the diamonds are reflecting each other, it changes everything everywhere all at once, right? So know the power of every choice that you make and every change that you make, even if it seems very small. It actually changes the fabric of reality. And something that you change today does not only change your future, it changes the past, right? Which is pretty amazing. And it can also feel daunting, right? To actually realize how much power we have. And that can sometimes move us into fear. Like, I know I have this like fear of making the wrong decision, right? Like, okay, I have this much power, and if I make the wrong choice, then that could, I could somehow miss out on this this possible future that would be like the best thing, and I might miss out if I don't make the right choice. But this is not true. We have the power of choice, and it does affect everything, but we can always choose again, right? So the the fact that we have that much power doesn't need to feel intimidating or overwhelming. If we remember that, yeah, we can choose something, and it's like play, right? Like, oh, I choose something. I didn't like how that felt, didn't like the results. Next moment, I choose another thing. We don't have to be beholden to any choice that we make. Again, it's sort of like the video game. So usually the boss that you have to fight at the end of, level it's challenging. It's meant to be difficult. And so you might have to, go at it like a number of times before you pass that level. And it wouldn't make sense for the video game character to be like, gosh, like, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep failing at this? Because you're choosing to play the game, right? And the joy of the game is having that challenge and letting yourself learn and try different things until you defeat this boss and can get to the next level. So in that same way, in our lives, when when we keep hitting up against something, right? Like when you notice yourself looping in a behavior and you're just like, what is wrong with me? Why does this keep happening to me? It's about shifting your identity and asking new questions. So even though it's perfectly natural, right, because of our conditioning, to feel like we're a victim to circumstances, to feel afraid, insecure, our work, right, how we love ourselves, this practice is about remembering the truth, which is you are an infinite creator. So no matter what you're experiencing, remember that at a soul level, you are creating this. And just like in that video game, you are creating this because you want to grow or discover something about yourself. And when you take this perspective, it is much easier to feel compassion for yourself, to feel patient, to know that, oh, right, my life is an adventure. I purposely took on these challenges, and this is supposed to be fun and learning. And I'm not meant to just, I know I have had this idea, like if I was just, did enough spiritual work, if I was awake enough, conscious enough, then like my life would be easy, right? Like there would be no challenges. And again, if you take this perspective of the vast self, you might suffer less, but challenge is part of the game, right? Evolution is about growing beyond where we currently are, growing beyond where we're comfortable, which inherently means that we're going to face things that are challenging in order to up level. So again, I just want to remind you that whatever you're going through, and especially if you're feeling stuck or like you're repeating something, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with your life. This is the game that we're choosing to play. So in A Course in Miracles, it states that a miracle is a shift in perception, right? It's not like magic, you just get something or something changes out there. It's about something changing within us, inside. So if you've been waiting for a miracle, like if you've been wondering like, what's going to save me from this situation, from this recurring pattern, the miracle that you've been waiting for is you. Everything that you need is right here and now. And you have the power to change your experience. So we're going to go through an exercise right now. Like I'm going to give you the steps to start to shift that perception. Okay, step 1 is about dropping, just dropping, letting go of all of the ideas and techniques that you've tried thus far to change your situation. Because if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. So if you've been, researching a bunch of doctors to fix, a chronic illness, if you've been trying a bunch of programs to change like your money state, or then just stop, pause. And again, it doesn't mean that none of those things can work for you, but it depends on where you're coming from when you choose these external things, right? And if you know that you're coming from this place of like fear and insecurity and it's something out there is going to save me, then it's not. It's not. Okay, so step 1 is to drop it. Drop whatever you've been doing and whatever you think you need. And then the second step is to ask new questions. So instead of asking like, what's going to fix me? The question to ask is, what is the gift in what I'm experiencing? What is the lesson that I'm wanting to learn through this? My soul is wanting to learn. Why did I create this? Why am I creating this as an infinite creator? And an answer might come to you immediately by just asking a different question. You might just get an intuitive like, oh, and it might not. If you don't get an answer right away, I invite you to just continue to ask the question. Just have it in your heart and then just watch what shows up. Because sometimes, again, because we're infinite creators, we're going to attract answers to us. So ask yourself the question and then just stay open. At least for these like next 2 weeks, just stay open and see what comes. The third step is to listen and pay attention. Again, see what comes. And even if you get an answer right away, to just start paying attention. Like now that you've brought it into your conscious awareness, like why you might be creating this, just start to notice what new things occur to you as you focus on the real reason why you're creating this instead of seeing yourself as a victim. And the fourth step is to trust what you receive. So whatever answers come to you, trust that, because they may go against, right, what we are been conditioned to do, which is to look outside of ourselves for answers or to compare ourselves to other people. Like that worked for that person. Like, why isn't it working for me? Trust your own path. Trust the answers you receive. And to be patient. Sometimes, just like with a video game, right? You know that you're playing a game, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to have to keep going against that big boss like many, many times before you figure out how to beat it, right? So just be patient with yourself. And again, it's easier to be patient when you own that you are creating this for a bigger purpose than just to suffer. And I'll give you an example of this in my own life. So for the past decade, I was like struggling with money, right? I was started a healing business 11 years ago, and I thought it was what I was like born to do. I was 30 something, so it already felt sort of late, and I was like, finally, I know what I'm here to do. And I just thought I was gonna have success. I'd never had issues with money before. I've worked hard all my life, I've had jobs and whatnot, but I didn't make money for years, not enough to sustain me. And, so I worked with business coaches and took marketing programs, and at first I was optimistic, but the more time went on, And, and I would watch other people who were, doing similar work, and they seemed to be becoming successful. So then I just thought, wow, like there must be something wrong with me. But I knew deep inside, like I'm meant to be abundant. Like I'm not meant to struggle like this. So I just asked one day, after many years of suffering, like, why am I creating this? Why am I creating this situation? I know that I have the power to be abundant. Why is this happening? And very clearly, the answer was like, to help you to heal any places where you are giving your power away, like where you're judging yourself based on external standards, right? So I thought that I had accepted the truth that, we're all inherently valuable and that we're equal, and that I'm loved. But I could see by how I'd been judging myself all of those years that I actually wasn't loving myself, right? I only loved myself if I was successful, if I was what I saw as independent, if I was achieving my goals. It's like, can I love myself even when I'm a loser in society? And I also saw how not having money pushed me to go inward, right? Because if I had money, anytime I would feel that discomfort of, questioning my own value, I would probably just go travel somewhere or take another workshop or hire another coach. But because I had limited resources, I was kind of like forced to be more still. It still took time to unravel because I resisted, because basically what my soul wanted me to do was to go inward and heal all the places in myself where I questioned my own worth and value. But that can be uncomfortable, right? And so if I had money, I would distract myself. I would look outside for answers or just entertain myself. And so my soul had to sort of cut me off from that. And when I accepted that, magic started to happen. Like I started to connect really deeply with Mother Earth, and I started to channel poems and this trilogy of myths that ended up guiding my life. They became like story maps for my entire life and inspiration for my art. But even though I wanted to be able to just, release any part of me that questions my value, it took layers and time to unravel. And I, had to go through going into debt a few times because I kept going for like programs and coaches thinking, well, this is the thing. Like, I just want to try one more thing. Right? Every time I did any action from that place of, I need to do this in order to feel okay about myself, it wouldn't work, or not for long. So that I would go inward, and that inward journey like led me to excavate more layers of, trauma in my ancestry, in my childhood, from my cultural conditioning. All of these journeys that I might never have taken. I probably would not have taken if I just made money easily from my business, right? And of course, if I didn't do those journeys, I would not be able to serve at the capacity that I'm able to now, because I wouldn't be as clear a mirror. I would still be holding these lies of lack inside my body. And I'm not saying I'm totally done, but I'm much clearer than I would have been if, I was just making money easily and there was no reason, no motivation for me to go deeper inside myself. So I finally feel like I'm at the place where that's shifting. But, what really shifted was, let's say this, I finally feel like I'm at the place where I'm at peace with where I am financially. Like, I don't feel stuck. And even though I'm not at the numbers that I, think is ideal or that I wrote goals for many years, I just don't feel anymore this like desperation, like as if that's going to define me, or I need that to be happy, or that's going to drive my actions, this sense of lack. That is huge. That's everything. And I believe because of that, there have been some shifts coming in my outer experience. But again, the miracle is in the shift in perception. It's the way that I feel inside that's different. And it started with me claiming, owning that, I'm not just broken and there's not just something wrong with me that I'm experiencing this. I'm creating it. I asked myself why. And then when I got the answer, it made sense to me. I still forgot and would, I had to go through some more lessons. But eventually, the embodiment of the truth came. Now I feel like I'm at the next level. So please share in the comments the answers that you receive when you ask the question of why you're creating the circumstance that you're creating, the patterns that you're creating. And if you're having trouble like sort of hearing that answer, please share, or you can message me privately, and I can help support you in sort of unraveling that answer if you tell me what is the recurrent pattern. So in the next video, which I will create and put out in the next few days, and it will be also in response to your comments. So if there's something that you're very curious about, that you want me to go deeper in, please let me know. But we're going to be heading into looking at the roots, going deeper into looking at the roots of our patterns and mining the gifts. All right, if I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to all of the US people, and take good care. Oh, and please share this with anyone who you think might benefit. A lot of people are pretty overwhelmed during this time of year, and might help to have this different perspective. Thank you.